Okay, so the plan was that once I got the pickguard off, I would have to make a hole in the pickguard for the pickup. And the idea was that I would cut the hole in the pickguard and then use that hole as a template for where to carve the cavity in the body. But when I removed the pickguard, I discovered this cavity that's already here is pretty much almost exactly the size I need it to be for the pickup I have. But that gave me a new puzzle. How do I make this hole line up with wherever I'm going to cut it here on the pickguard? How do I make that happen? So what I'm going to do is, it's a variation on an old woodworker's technique called a talking stick, where we're going to use existing points to tell us where to cut that hole. Give me a moment. Okay, what I've done is I've put down a layer of blue tape, and for the sake of the camera, I've added in another layer of regular masking tape just so that you can see the marks I'm going to write on here. In addition to that, I've put little pieces of washi tape all the way around to indicate where these holes are, because we know that these holes in the pickguard are identical to these holes in the body, so we can use them as reference to line things up. So the next thing I'm going to need is a piece of paper or cardboard. This is cut up file folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this point here, this hole, and let's start with this hole. I'm going to take this hole, line that up in the corner. And this hole here. This hole is marked. And then I'm going to mark this edge and this edge. Now, using this information, what I can do is I can come over to here, line up this hole, line up this hole, and get my hands out of the way, and then mark here and here. Let me do that again. And change pens here so you can see a different one. Same hole at the top, but we're going to use same hole at the top. We're going to use this hole instead. So we're going to come here, line that up to the corner. There's the hole. There's the edge. And there's the edge. Coming back over here. So it was this hole here. There's the corner. There's the hole. There's the edge. And there's the edge. Now you can see I've already got an indication of a line. So let's go ahead and do a different direction. So we're going to come from over here, and I think we're going to use this hole. So let's go with that hole and that hole. So there's the hole, there's the edge, there's the edge. So I'm trying to get this all on camera, so it's a little awkward. And using that hole again. See, we did it here. Let's see about this hole here. All right, line up the corner. Here's the hole. Here's the edge. Here's the edge. Corner, hole, edge, edge. And you can see from this that we now have a fairly good indicator of where that space is. So I'm going to go ahead and do as many of these hole pairs as I can, so I can have as many tick marks as I can, so I have the most accurate indication where that hole is. Okay, so after a whole mess of little tick marks, lots of little tick marks, trying from all sorts of different angles, I have an indication of where this hole is in relation to the pickguard. Just to make that a little easier to see, I'll go ahead and use the washi tape and line some of those little dots up. Alright, there. There. And there. And that will give me a really good idea of where I need to cut the hole for my pickup. And there we go. Okay.